What's up? Welcome to the College Investor Audio Show. We're so glad you're hanging out with us today. We take a look at this article, which you can find at thecollegeinvestor.com. How mandatory college fees like SMU's $8,080 catch families off guard. Like, what are they doing? We're going to take a look at it in just a second. Again, you can find this article and many others at thecollegeinvestor.com. If you want to dive deeper into this topic and anything else, it's right there. You can also like and follow and click all the buttons on social media. We're pretty much anywhere you are. Just type in the words The College Investor and you'll find us. We'd love to help you wherever you are in your money journey. All right, let's take a look at these college fees now. Families comparing colleges usually start with the published tuition number. That number, though, is rarely what they're actually going to owe. Most families don't pay sticker price. Another line item is becoming a shocking addition. Fees. Buried in the fine print somewhere, the mandatory student fee can add $1,000, $4,000, or even $8,000 to the annual bill before housing and food. At Southern Methodist University, or SMU, the general student fee is rising to $4,040 per term. Yikes. That's roughly $8,080 across 2 semesters. 2 semesters! On top of the $63,376 in undergrad tuition and fees published for 2026-27. Stack on the other charges colleges break out from headline tuition. Recreation fees. Student health fees. Transit fees. Technology fees. Athletic fees. Come on, it just goes on and on. And the gap between sticker tuition and real out-of-pocket cost can run into 5 figures. For families building a college budget, the math gets even harder still when a private school also requires a student or a parent contribution that financial aid is not covering. These are the costs that make true apples-to-apples comparisons between schools almost impossible without a spreadsheet. Here's why mandatory fees exist in the first place. Mandatory fees are not new, unfortunately, and most have a specific and usually helpful purpose. Believe it or not, the University of Pittsburgh's Computing and Network Services fee actually pays for campus Wi-Fi. Canvas learning management costs, cybersecurity, and printing, so it pays for a bunch. Transit fees at the University of Colorado Boulder sound kind of junk, but they do underwrite unlimited regional bus and rail passes for students. Health and wellness fees fund counseling, mental health services, and on-campus clinics. For example, Tufts University's health and wellness fee is $1,238 for the 25-26 year, and it cannot be waived. But why not just kind of roll those into tuition and not surprise families, right? That's probably what you're thinking. That's what I'm thinking too. Well, there are several forces that push schools to keep these charges separate. The first is dedicated funding. Fees create earmarked revenue streams that cannot be pulled into the general operating budget, so it makes sense. Many state legislatures require this separation at public universities. Furthermore, I love that word, many times the loans used to fund a project are based on being repaid by these mandatory fees. For lenders, this is a win-win. For colleges, it's just an easy way to guarantee revenue for new projects. The second thing is governance. At a lot of institutions, mandatory fees are reviewed or approved by student government. That gives students a voice, sometimes political cover for the administration too, when fees do go up. The third is rankings and price perception. So most college shoppers anchor on tuition. By holding the line on tuition while letting fees climb, schools can protect their sticker price position relative to their peers. Higher education researcher Robert Kelchin has noted that at some institutions, when tuition goes up, fees actually go down, and when tuition is frozen, fees, of course, rise, suggesting administrators often treat the two as interchangeable buckets. A related force, federal and state free college, quote-unquote, air quotes galore right here, proposals typically cover tuition, not fees. That gives any school operating in a free tuition environment an incentive to push more cost into that fee column. None of this is technically hidden either, but it is rarely surfaced in admissions marketing. Like they would plaster that on billboards, right? Average fee range. Let's take a look at this. The College Board's Trends in College Pricing Report puts average published tuition and fees for the 25-26 academic year at just a tick under 12 grand for public four-year in-state students, just a tick under 32 grand for public four-year out-of-state students. Wow, what a discrepancy for in-state versus out-of-state. $45,000 for private nonprofit four-year institutions and $4,150 for public two-year students. I can handle that one. The College Board reports tuition and fees as a single bundled figure, which is part of the problem, too. It makes the fee portion kind of invisible to families running comparisons. State audits provide more granular data. A 2024 Virginia Legislative Review found that mandatory non-instructional fees at the state's public universities averaged $3,502 per year, which is roughly one-third of total in-state tuition and fees. At the University of Virginia, in-state graduates pay $3,870 in mandatory fees on top of the $16,843 in tuition for the College of Arts and Sciences in the 26-27 year. Out-of-state UVA students pay $4,552 in mandatory fees. At Auburn, another example, the student services fee runs like $983 per semester. Well, that ain't half bad. Then there are professional fees or program fees, depending on your college. Private schools generally bundle more costs into the tuition, but they don't always do that. SMU is one example. Tufts charges its health and wellness fees separately. Other private institutions break out activity fees, technology fees, or orientation fees that show up only on the bill. Here's why families need to understand the fee structure. Several categories of fees deserve a closer look during the college search. Athletic fees at mid-major public universities are where the math gets a little bit ugly here. A Chronicle of Higher Education and Huffington Post investigation found that 180 of 201 Division I public athletic departments ran budget shortfalls, with student fees and other subsidies covering more than $10 billion of those gaps over 5 years. James Madison, for example, labels its fee the comprehensive fee, which was for 26 and 27, $3,111. This fee breaks down as $2,400 or so for intercollegiate athletics, $1,200 for auxiliary services, $983 for student activity, like $850 for facilities, $300 for student health services, and transportation services, and blah, blah, blah. All right. According to reports, the university collected $55.53 million in mandatory athletics fees in 2024, which was the highest of any public school in the nation. Roughly 73% of JMU's athletic budget comes from those pesky fees. Breaking out the mandatory comprehensive fee from its tuition for 26 and 27 was Old Dominion University. They're labeling it as a mandatory auxiliary tuition fee at $154 per credit hour. What? The result is a lowering of tuition, per se, from $408 per credit hour to $281. It looks good. And these fees are not optional either. Adding back the fees is just making the tuition go up at $435 per credit hour. It's ridiculous what they're doing. Anyway, general student services and program fees can rival a year of community college tuition on their own. Community college just looks better and better every day. SMU's general student fee is climbing to roughly $8,080 a year. The university, USC, ranks number 7 on the most expensive colleges. $75,000 in tuition and fees. Bundles a lot of its services into its published number, but separately charges program fees that can add thousands more to that. They're in the top 10 and they're still jacking up their prices. Specialty fees can also stack up quickly. Auburn's College of Architecture, Design, and Construction adds $2,100 per semester. Professional fee, $4,320 a year. SMU, again, and many other private schools layer course fees on top of the general student fee, ranging from $50 to several $100s per class. Health, recreation, and transit fees round out the full picture here. Tufts Health and Wellness fee is roughly $1,238 per year, and it's mandatory for first-time undergrads. The University of Colorado Boulder charges a recreation center expansion fee of $106.96 tied to construction bonds students approved back in 2011. Wow! A cost that current and future students still pay. Transit fees, environmental fees, and student activity fees typically run $25 to $300 each, but they do stack. Let's move on, and then we'll wrap up for today on what this means for you. The headline tuition number on a college's admissions page is all marketing. The real price lives inside your personal financial aid award, and it includes mandatory fees that often run $2 to $8 grand a year on top of that tuition. For lower-income families, challenging, to say the least, mandatory fees don't scale with ability to pay. A $3,000 athletic fee falls just as hard on a student receiving a Pell Grant as on a full-pay family. Not cool. Research from the Chronicle of Higher Education investigation found that the 50 institutions with the highest athletic subsidies had 44% more Pell-eligible students than the 50% with the lowest subsidies. Meaning, the families with the least ability to pay are often subsidizing sports programs the most. The scales aren't balancing out. For middle and upper income families, the issue is sticker shock at billing time. A family that picked a school based on a tuition comparison can find itself owing several $1,000s more than expected once all those mandatory fees, program fees, and the student responsibility line item are all tallied up. Okay. All that said, I know that was a ton of information. Here's how families can plan for the real cost. A few habits can help families build the right college list from the start. Number 1, make sure you're looking at the full potential bill. Tuition, mandatory fees, course fees, housing, meal plans. Number 2, add fees to your sticker price comparisons. When comparing School A against School B, compare tuition plus all mandatory fees side by side. At public universities in particular, that comparison can flip the ranking on cost. Number 3, read the financial aid award letter line by line. Look for any expected student contribution, summer earnings expectation, or term time work expectation. Those are real cash obligations the school is not going to cover. Number 4, check whether the school promises to meet 100% of demonstrated financial need. Most of them do not. And the gap is called unmet need. And the family has to pay it on top of any expected contribution. Number 5, ask about fee waivers and opt-outs because a small number of fees, like health insurance, being the most common, can actually be waived with proof of equivalent coverage. Most of those mandatory fees cannot be waived, though. The Federal Student Aid Index is a good starting point for you, not the actual price you'll pay for college out of pocket. Tuition is not the price of college. The real number is whatever the school's billing office charges after fees, program charges, contributions, and that unmet need we talked about. The most useful number to write down is not the one printed on the brochure. That's all marketing. It's the total billed amount on last year's actual student account statement at the schools on your list. Some schools do post sample bills. The rest of them, you kind of have to search and ask for. That is our show for today. Oh man, jam-packed with information, but you didn't even scratch the surface on this. We have so many more helpful resources and details for you right inside this article at thecollegeinvestor.com. You can ask us questions because we would love to point you in the exact direction your family needs to make sure you're paying what you thought you were going to pay. You can find us all over social media. Just search for the words The College Investor, and you'll find us. We'd love to help you. Thanks so much again for stopping by today, and we'll talk to you real soon.